Hello everyone, and welcome back to your daily government and financial news update. As always, I'm interested in hearing your thoughts on everything, so make sure to give this video a like, but also leave a comment giving your thoughts on everything that is currently going on. Okay, so the recent inflation report for June showed a 9.1% increase, marking the fastest pace since 1981. This also came in even higher than the Dow Jones estimate of 8.8%. Back in July of 2021, President Biden had this to say about long-term inflation getting out of hand.
The vast majority of the experts, including Wall Street, are suggesting that it's highly unlikely that it's going to be long-term inflation that's going to get out of hand.
Okay, so let's put this into perspective for just a second. If we took, for example, the $1,400 stimulus check that we received last year and simply stashed it under a pillow, at this point, if it was still under a pillow, the purchasing power would now only be worth around $1,270. That's right, in just a little over a year, you would have already lost around $130 of the value. Not to mention the other two stimulus checks of $1,200 and $600, those would have also lost quite a bit of value as well. Also, just for another example, let's say over the last year you did a really great job at work and you really impressed your boss, and because of this he gave you a 5% pay raise. Even though in most years this would have been a really fantastic, this year unfortunately with inflation being well over 9%, you would have actually seen a pay decrease of 4%. So exactly how bad can things get in the coming months? Here is Biden's economic advisor Jared Bernstein being asked, do you feel like it's Jimmy Carter deja vu?
Do you guys ever start feeling like it's Jimmy Carter deja vu and that's where we're headed?
I think the difference there is between the kind of stagflation they were facing and the very different, in many ways more nuanced economy we're facing. You know, you like to focus on the headwinds, and I get it. If it bleeds, it leads. I understand that.
No, I focus on reality, Jared. I focus on the numbers.
Look,
I have no political agenda here. I just look at the data, and the data doesn't look encouraging, right?
Well, that's because you're choosing which data to exclusively look at here.
I think I gave you 11 pieces of data. So
look, the headline and the core inflation are, to quote the president, unacceptably high. Okay. So that is absolutely a relevant data point for you to bring to the table as you have.
Bernstein then proceeds to say that in order to calm inflation, perhaps we just need more spending.
So are you saying more spending is the answer?
I'm saying more investment is the answer. More investment, in production.
Is spending, right? And that might or might not be the solution, but past spending efforts have not really helped this. It's actually worsened it, right?
And while Democrats fumble around with excuses on inflation, whether it be the pandemic, Putin, or Donald Trump's fault, Americans everywhere, unfortunately, struggle to make ends meet.
Turn now to the latest on soaring inflation. Worse than expected in June. Prices up 9.1% over the past year. That is the highest in nearly 41 years. In some areas of the country, the inflation rate is above 10%. Whit Johnson is tracking the impact of all of it. Good morning to you, Whit.
Amy, good morning to you. These grim inflation numbers may come as no surprise to many Americans who feel the sting of these prices every time they shop or pay the rent. But after this worse than expected report is raising real questions about where the economy is headed next.
This morning, growing fears of a possible recession as inflation hits a near 41-year high. Prices in June soaring 9.1% compared to a year ago, higher than economists expected. Big increases impacting just about everything from food to rent to energy.
We were using majority of our paychecks just to afford gas.
The average household spending $493 more per month for the same goods they bought a year ago, according to Moody's Analytics. Grocery prices rising at their fastest pace since 1979, up more than 12%.
No matter where I shop, prices are just so much higher than ever before.
In June, a dozen eggs cost $2.71, up from $1.64 a year ago. A gallon of milk, $4.15 last month, up from $3.56.
I'm looking at prices more, and I'm not buying things that's not needed, like junk food.
More families needing assistance, too, struggling to put food on the table. Our Victor Oquendo is in South Florida.
This is a food distribution site in Miami Gardens, a vital lifeline for families, and the demand is skyrocketing. Take a look at the line. It stretches for about a mile.
Bank of America now forecasting the U.S. will fall into a mild recession this year. Despite growing wages for workers, economists say they're losing ground to inflation.
Real wages, when you adjust for inflation, are down 3.6%. That means for most workers, for the average worker, they're not even treading water. Wages are not keeping pace with price increases.
To sum things up, as Biden's advisor Gene Sterling puts it, it's not their fault.
The question that keeps coming up again and again is that the messages that we've received from all levels of the White House and Treasury have been wrong. So how did you all get this so wrong?
Well, Martha, the things that the White House and the Treasury Department were saying last year, and I can't stress this enough, reflected the overwhelming economic consensus in the private sector in the U.S. and other places around the world.
Oh, and in case any of them tells us that inflation is going to start going down next month or perhaps even the month after that, that it's not going to continue on into 2023, just remember, they've all been lying to us since May of 2021.
I really doubt that we're going to see an inflationary cycle.
Most economic analysts believe that it will have a temporary or transitory impact.
The faster than expected increase in some of those prices is actually a good sign.
The overwhelming consensus is going to pop up a little bit and then go back down. No one's talking about this great,
This is something that will settle down.
Transitory.
Transitory.
And the data shows that most of the price increases we've seen were expected and are expected to be temporary. There's nobody suggesting there's unchecked inflation on the way. It's highly unlikely that it's going to be long-term inflation that's going to get out of hand. I don't know anybody who's worried about inflation.
Over the last couple of months, we actually saw it trended downward.
President Biden's chief of staff, Ron Klain, enthusiastically retweeted an economist who had said in part most of the economic problems we're facing, inflation, supply chains, et cetera, are high-class problems.
What is the Granholm plan to increase oil production in America?
Oh my God, that is hilarious.
Well, the number one thing that the president can do is help get COVID under control. That we know is the root cause of inflation.
President Biden this afternoon saying he thinks we're at the peak of the crisis right now and that lower prices are on the way.
The inflation has everything to do with the supply chain. Make no mistake, inflation is largely the fault of Putin. I'm going to do everything I can to minimize Putin's price hike here at home.
If you want to get rid of inflation, the only way to do it is to undo a lot of the Trump tax cuts.
So with record inflation, as even CNBC puts it, Biden's approval numbers are reaching depths not seen during his presidency or any of the prior two presidents.
All Americans across the nation, Joe, President Biden's overall and economic approval numbers plumbing depths not seen during his presidency or any of the prior two presidents, as Americans' concern over inflation is placed directly at the door of the Oval Office and its current occupant. Biden's economic approval dropping 5 points from our last survey to just 30% now. The president never had Republicans and has now firmly lost independents and even a chunk of Democrats and key demographic groups who put him in office. President Trump never went below 41%, and 37% was the lowest we could find either by CNBC or the NBC Wall Street Journal survey for President Obama. Biden is also a point lower, you can see there, than Trump's worst overall approval rating at 37%, I guess that is. The survey of 800 people across the nation found that 51% think the president's effort to combat inflation are making no difference. 30% think they're actually hurting, with just 12% think they're doing any good. Moving on now, these numbers come amid the worst economic outlook that we've recorded in the 15-year history of the survey. 52% think the economy will get worse over the next year. Just 22% believe it will improve. Both of those are survey records, and they're worse numbers than, I have to say, objectively worse times like the Great Financial Crisis. But Americans see bad times even further ahead. 62% expecting a recession in the next 12 months. Another 6% think, hey, we're already there. We've never seen numbers like this. You can see that shading there as recession times. Never seen numbers like this outside of an actual recession. And just 38% see their home prices going up in the next 12 months. That's the lowest since the onset of the pandemic and a big drop since the last quarter.
Okay, now moving on to some money news, where on Friday the S&P 500 made some major moves, jumping up by 1.92%. The Dow Jones increased by over 2%, and the NASDAQ outperformed both indexes, up 2.31%. Year to date, both the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ are still down by right around 20%. Now, as far as Bitcoin goes, after dipping into the 18,000s on Wednesday, it has since surged up above 21,000, and we'll have to wait and see where it goes over the weekend. So with that said, if you would like to receive 6 free stocks and $5 worth of Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrency of your choosing, make sure to check out the link, which I will leave in a pinned comment below. But on that note, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this video. If you enjoyed the content in today's video and you would like to see more like it, make sure to give this video a like, subscribe to my channel, and also make sure to ring the notification bell. That way you will be the very first to be notified when I do release future videos. And until next time, I hope you have a wonderful day ahead, and I'll see you in the next video.